So these are difficult times, and how do you know what to believe? Coming up next on Pastor Bob's Coffee Break. My eyes are fixed on Jesus. I fix my eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of my faith. It's one of our older mugs. And as always, I love this one. I love all of these. And folks, you can get that and our coffee and our swag t-shirts. That's in a mug, that's in a t-shirt. It's a poster. wearemetal.com is where you get those things. Dear Pastor Bob, it's difficult to know what is true and what isn't these days. People call me a conspiracy theorist and prejudice, when all I'm trying to do is find out the truth about things. Why has it suddenly become so complicated? Good question, isn't it? And let me tell you that I'm almost 70, and this isn't new. This has been happening, and it's just that it's happening quicker, and the process of what's happening today has been happening for a while, getting worse and worse and worse and worse. If you want somebody to believe something, you repeat it a lot of times. You know, we notice this about music, and I've talked about this a few times, but having music that's in our head, and we memorize the words and we regurgitate it whenever we need to. You know, one of the things I've been doing this week is listening to the Beatles. I know. I grew up with the Beatles, and they're still probably one of my favorite bands. I have the lyrics memorized. I really do. And I know when they take a breath, I know every lyric. I can sing along, and sometimes when I have my headphones on in Starbucks or in the coffee shop, I actually find myself singing along when people are kind of staring at me, and I think, uh-oh, I'm singing along again. But anyway, you know, that's why old songs are almost like old friends, you know, because there's a feeling, there's an emotion, and you know all the words, you've memorized them. And so the question is always, what are you hiding in your heart? What's in there? How much scripture have you memorized that you can recall? And I know we've talked about this several times, but this is the point here too. How do you separate truth from just junk that's going on and things that have been repeated so many times that it seems like they're true? Well, I'd like to go to Colossians, and Colossians chapter 2 and verse 8. I'm going to go first to the Living Translation, the New Living Translation. There's a difference. The New Living Translation. And it says, don't let anyone capture you with empty philosophies and high-sounding nonsense that come from human thinking and from spiritual powers of this world rather than from Christ. Wow. It says, don't let them capture you. In other words, you can be captured. I have friends that believe things that aren't true. Politically, about things that are happening in the world, about a lot of things. And I know they're not true. I do a lot of research. I don't just listen to what I'm being told. And these days, when you listen to the media, you're probably not getting the truth, sadly. How do you know? Well, you do your research, but you know what truth is. And you know, when you start with the foundation of truth, when you start with the Bible truth, then you begin to separate these things, these high-sounding and empty philosophies, this nonsense that comes from human thinking? Well, as always, we need to go to the Amplified Bible, because that explains all the words and it gives us the deeper thoughts of what this is talking about. And it says, see to it that no one carries you off as spoil. In other words, they've defeated you. You're part of their captive because they've conquered you. Or that anyone makes you yourself captive by his so-called philosophy and intellectualism. You know, the world has a philosophy. And if you don't have your own, you get caught up in that. Philosophy and intellectualism and vain deceit. In other words, idle fancies and, well, plain nonsense. Following human tradition, man's ideas of the material rather than the spiritual world, and just crude notions following the rudimentary and elemental teachings of the universe and disregarding the teachings of Christ the Messiah. So we make up our own standards, we make up our own stuff, and these days we simply make it up. How do you know what to believe? When you know the truth, you can see the error. So 2 things I want to say. First of all, be grounded in the Word. Be fixed. Make sure your eyes are fixed on Jesus Christ. And make sure your heart is fixed on His principles, His foundation. And then secondly, don't believe everything you're being told. Question things over and over and over again and dig. And just because some fancy news media tells you that something is true, don't believe it. We're being lied to every single day in so many areas. You know that. Be smart about it. Be biblical about it. And be foundational with it. Build on these principles. Fix your eyes on Jesus and stay the course. Well, don't forget, you are a blessing and you have been blessed. Folks, carry that through and be a blessing to everyone around you today.